What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Let the Brother Speak.
Sure.
I'm Big C, the chef, the host, or moderator, whatever you want to call me. And we got the fellas here with us again. What's up, fellas?
What's going on? Once again, it's the young boy, your boy Migo.
Hey, how y'all doing? This is Mike Wells. How y'all doing? Just showing love.
Got that voice on, don't you?
You know.
Already. It's your boy AP Appleberry. Apple Juice got the sauce. We in here. Let the brother speak. Let's get into it.
All right. Here we are. So, how was you all's week again? I know I asked every week, but people ain't heard from you in a week. So what's going on?
I think it's a good topic, checking on each other, man. I'm blessed, man. It's one of those moments where despite what's going on, man, it's not enough to deter me from looking at it from a positive light. So I'm blessed because he keeps keeping me.
I'm absolutely blessed. It's a chillaxing type thing. Life is doing great. I'm happy where I am, looking for the future endeavors. Definitely want to see where everybody else is going.
Yeah, I think somebody just mentioned this, but this has been a checkup week. Check up on your people because them people peeping. Yeah, check up on them people. Your people, because people peeping. Simply what that means, man, just make sure you're checking on your people because there's a lot of stuff going on in this world. And that's what I did this week. Checked up on my people. Yeah.
All right. Well, I've been checking up on mine too. I talked to my daughter, so everything's good with her. So, and life is life. Life is good. Can't complain. No complaints from me, at least. So here we are again. What we getting into this week? I know we had I know we do a lot of things in the group chat. We got a lot of stuff that we go through in the group chat. So, what we talking about this week?
Barry, open that up.
And open it up.
I'm gonna take it a different way, right quick. I know it just came to my mind about having, I guess you would say, a state of mind, a particular state of mind. I've heard people say that I don't have an ability, or I can't trust this person no more, or I have doubt in myself about this particular thing, right? Or I can't trust somebody no more, or I'm not confident enough to do this. I got a perspective on that, but I want to kind of see what y'all think about this as well. Like when people say they can't do something anymore, or they can't love. Let's take this one. I don't have the ability to love anybody anymore. I've heard somebody say that I don't have that ability anymore, right? What are your thoughts on that about not being able to love somebody anymore?
I know in my heart, it's more of something that's been drained out but hasn't been refilled. I don't care how much you try to pour that little last drop out of a wine bottle. If there ain't no more wine in there, you can't refill it.
Can't get it out.
So, it isn't that they don't have the love; they just have not been refilled.
Okay.
It's a deeper thing. They've been given, and they're not receiving. And I can understand that. I mean, I've gotten to the point where I've given, and I'm like, wow, I'm not receiving, and you have to step away. But once again, I tell people I can cut myself off from somebody. Doesn't mean that I don't love you and still don't have love for you, but that don't mean that I have to deal with you. And I think this person is at that point where they're feeling like they can't love, but what it is that they just need to be refilled. They need to do that social mental pause and get closure for themselves.
Got you.
And then find love in themselves. Because if you don't love yourself, you can't love nobody else.
Let me ask it a little bit different way, and I'm going to hit this one to you. What about people that say they no longer have confidence in themselves?
I'm going to say kind of like in the same sense, I'll say it in two different ways. That's a person that's burnt out then I'm gonna say it really from the perspective of you just ain't healed yet, or you just, or even if you're not healed yet, the wound is still open. It don't have a scab yet, because you might say you're over the person, but the side effects of what happened to you or what you poured out, you still feeling it. Like you can still feel the pain of, like, you get a scratch or if you get a bad wound, you feel it for a little while, but when it starts to scab, that same pain isn't there. So in that moment is a lot of times when your scab develops is when your healing process starts, because that's when the pain is gone. And I think a lot of times we sometimes keep the healing process. We hinder the healing process because we keep pouring back that scab. Cause there's a question I ask women, because I'm a person who wants a big family. And I always ask, especially if you run into women who have children, do you want more kids? And first they'll say no. And then they'll say, well, depending on what, I don't know why I get this part. Well, are they going to be married for us? I don't really run into people who just say they want kids without marriage. So when I'm asking this question, I'm asking from a point of view of being married. And they say, well, if my husband wants kids, I'll give it to him. And then I ask, well, can I ask you, when you first said no, were you saying it from a perspective of just you not wanting kids? Or you thinking about what happened with your past relationship and your past, say, child's father? And a lot of times they're thinking about what happened then. And I'm like, well, and it's not saying that you haven't moved on, but I'm like, there's a certain part of you that's holding on to something negative. And I think of it like this. If I was to say I couldn't love no more, or that I'm just tired, God didn't get tired on me.
Come on,
and there's been some times where there's some times when I don't talk to God like I talk when I'm at church, or
I gotta have some real conversation,
or being very professional. Sometimes I'm talking like, dog, why are you doing this to me, man? Why? This hurt. Like, God, I don't know, somebody put it out one time. Look, I don't know if you signed me up to be one of your strong warriors and put more on me than I can bear, but taking me off that list type, like, there are times when I know I've done things and God should have just wrote me off and said, I'm done with that, bro. He repeated the same step, or I might have just simply broken God's heart. Yeah. Jesus didn't even give up after he figured out what was going to happen to him. Your parents didn't give up on you, knowing at times when you were a headache. So, like, a lot of times when we say this, I'm tired. No, you're not tired. You're hurt. And rather than recognize and maybe, and it may be a community thing, rather than accept and say, just accept that, y'all know I'm still healing. You're starting to project it onto the next person, and it ain't even just got to be a romantic relationship.
Absolutely.
But you're hindering yourself because you won't even admit that, yo, I'm still bleeding, and it's okay to bleed, because sometimes you might not can. I know if I get hit in certain spots, I can't treat the wound because of where it's at. So sometimes being open and honest that, hey, I'm healing in this aspect. Well, sometimes God might send somebody that can help bandage it, somebody that can like stop the bleeding for you. But the issue is we're not honest with it. So rather than us be honest about it, we become overly protective. And when you become overly protective, you begin to isolate yourself from the people that are meant to be in your life. So I think it comes from just, and it is a part of exhaustion, because some people do pour out and they're not getting nothing poured back into. And sometimes that we do that to ourselves. Sometimes God has told us to pull back, and we keep, because that's what we're used to. We didn't sit back down to get it back in us. So
I agree with that, because I know many times, especially in relationships, you hear that. But God, I see the good in them. And God's like, or I love them because of whatever feature, whatever thing, right, that you want to hold on. But sometimes God is saying, look, you did your part. I'm pulling them back because now they're a hindrance to your growth. And you now need some growth, because I see that you did your best. Now I'm going to separate you from, because I always say a weed and a flower can't live in the same thing. So my state flower is a black-eyed Susan. It's technically a weed, right? But you can't put a black-eyed Susan in the same ground as a rose, because roses need more acidic ground. So you'll kill the black-eyed Susan off, but the rose will live. But if you leave the ground for the black-eyed Susan, the rose ain't gonna live.
Cool. Let me see if I can gather my perspective on this, because you all kind of took me a couple of different ways with those responses, right? So I think I'm gonna start off with something I recently heard with the perspective that you all were offering. And I want to thank you, brothers, for that perspective, because it enlightened me in a different way as well. But I'm gonna try to stay on this path and not go the way that you all went, if that makes sense. And I'm gonna start it off like this. What you resist continues to exist. However, what you embrace becomes your grace, and grace is a gift. And you alluded to this a little bit earlier about how your parents and how Jesus and how God, no matter what, is sticking with us, right? And sometimes things come into your life, people come into your life, and God is really trying to tell you, this is the area you need to work on, right? So some of the times those friends that we need to cut off and things of that nature, what he's saying is, you're going to be the one that show everybody how to do this, right? The other perspective on this is this, because I asked this question about the confidence and the love, right? When we look at both of those things, I think a lot of the times when you hear a question, you just answer the question, but you don't go deep or even simple with the question. So what I've been trying to do for myself is, when somebody asks me a question, is simply start trying to define what they're asking. So therefore, the first thing I started doing when somebody asked me this question this week, define what is love, define what is confidence, right? And once I defined what it was, and you telling me that this person doesn't have it anymore, the definition of the word that you're trying not to have, you're exhibiting it, but in the opposite direction. So me not loving or me not having confidence shows that I actually have confidence and I love, right? Because I have to do the very thing to not do it, right? And the reason why I asked that question is because of this, is that perspective. We've been talking about this like the last 4 shows, perspective. When you get in your mind a certain perspective, you start going down that road. But when you start thinking of things a little bit different, then your eyes are open. And I'll give you this example. This last summer, I was able to go on a trip to Italy with my doctoral program. Never been to Europe, been out the country, but never been to Europe. And I get there and I'm seeing all these different things. Like when I get off the plane, I see security with M16s and things of that nature. I'm like, this don't happen in America. Like, what are they doing? Right? They overprotective. And I see something else. They doing this and they do this. I'm doing this and doing this. And then my professor says to everybody, I guess she hears me saying this, right? But she says to everybody, hey, this is what I want y'all to do. Experience this trip and don't compare nothing.
It's just in the moment.
Experience this trip and don't compare anything. Light bulb went off. Oh, I'm just going to be in the moment. As you just said, I'm going to be in the moment and I'm going to just take things in, right? And it's not good nor bad, but I got in my chest a chance to feel that. And then I can decide what I want to do with that. Our emotions are the same way, right? We should just take those in. Okay, that's what it is. And then decide what we want to do with those. Okay, like those choices that we talked about a little bit earlier in the previous show. I get to decide every day what kind of mood I'm going to be in. I get to decide whether I can love somebody, whether I can have confidence in myself. So why don't we choose that? Why don't we choose those things?
I think because we don't treat it the way it's meant. Certain things are supposed to end. Like if you was to go on a race, there's a finish, there's a start, and there's a finish. Right now the playoffs are going on. You're at the preseason. All things lead up to the championship. But the thing about love, even life comes to an end. But the thing about your life, what you did with your life doesn't.
So
way
I
you-
would disagree with you
Well,
on the
okay.
end.
Well, I'm saying
Yeah.
as far as like being here on earth, like you know,
Gotcha.
you at some point you pass away and you move, your spirit elevates. But the thing that can stay on this earth are the things you left behind, like the way you loved on your family,
Mhm.
what you did for your family, and most at the end of the day, excuse me, a lot of what you did for your family was out of love.
Mhm.
So a lot of us, when we whether it's these friendships, and yeah, some things, some relationships are supposed to end, but the relationship was supposed to end, not your love of people.
There you go.
Yeah.
Your love of people, that is the one thing that is eternal. Like we don't still talk about Dr. King just because he had a love for wanting his culture to be treated equal. There's a certain amount of love there that if what if he would have cut that off because somebody threw a rock at him or he got hosed down,
Mhm.
somebody threw a brick in his house, tried to burn his house down. What if he gave up? What if he stopped extending that love because of that?
Yeah, think about all the times that maybe people had slandered his name, but he still went back to those churches, or he
Mhm.
still talked to that newspaper article.
What if he stopped?
What if he stopped? Yeah, absolutely.
Love is not supposed to, I believe, have an expiration date. Even if you break up with somebody, you may have realized that, yo, we're not supposed to. I realize our relationship has ran its course, but I'm praying you the best in life.
Absolutely.
That's still love. So like
Mhm.
when we make these I can't do this because, man, bro, she hurt me, she played in my
Mhm.
face, or the vice versa.
That's still
Okay.
love. There's
There's
just
still-
love.
still
There
love.
was is a bitterness in love.
You may
Yeah.
not love to be with this person no more, but love should still exist as far as like, because you should want them to be better so they don't hurt the next person. That's love for a person that you don't even know, that you just
Absolutely.
don't want that person to get harmed the same way you did. There should be love there, but to say I'm tired of it, you can't be, because somebody didn't give up on
Mm.
you.
There you go.
Your mama did not have you. Your God didn't not keep you in them times when you wasn't at your best. So like, why are we putting an expiration date on love when God didn't put an expiration date on us?
Yes, sir.
And that's my story, and I'm gonna stick to it on that
Well,
point.
stick to it then, brother.
Oh,
Good question, brother.
yeah. As far as love and confidence, you know, I I definitely understand. Like I said, when I went through my previous marriage, I had to go through a point where God said, "Do you know what love is?"
Mm.
That was a hard thing.
The definition, right?
So
You got
my
to
Bible
it.
has, what's that glossary?
Mm.
It's where you can look up a certain word. And I looked up the word love. You don't know how many times the word love is written in the Bible.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I mean, to the point that I started looking through, and 1 Corinthians 13 kept popping up, right? But then it was all the way through the Bible. So God told me to take a deep dive into love. And so the Apostle Paul writes about love. If I could prophesy, but not be able to do this and not have love, what am I? Just a resounding gong. You know, he goes down it, but then he gets down to verse 4. Whew, deep. Love is patient, love is kind, does not envy, does not boast, does not keep record of wrong, does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth, keeps no records of wrong, always hopes, always trusts, always perseveres. Love never fails, right? I can almost recite that because I read it that many times.
It's real.
So, one thing that I realized in my deep dive was the Apostle Paul did not put one word in there. You know what that one word is? Sacrifice. Because true love is sacrifice. And he proved it with Abram. He said, Abram, if you truly love me, you will sacrifice your son. So now this is the son that God told him that he and Sarah were going to have.
Come
and they
on
were
now.
going to make nations with
Yes.
this
Yeah.
son,
Yeah.
right? But remember, he had that child with Hagar, Ishmael. And he promised that the child that he had with Ishmael was also to Hagar, was
Yeah.
going to be a nation,
Yep.
Yeah.
right? So what I realized is God said, okay, even though this child was created from wrong, I'm still love on him because that is Abram's son or Abraham's son.
The cup
But
flowed
then-
over, right?
But then he said Isaac was also going to be the son that a nation was going to be created, right? So then I started looking. I'm like, okay, he didn't say that you had to sacrifice. What he did is he said you have to be willing to sacrifice
Their choice.
because
Mm.
he found a ram so that he wouldn't have to sacrifice Isaac. But then I looked at it. Another sacrifice that was made but never said it in love was Abraham sacrificed a rib
Sure did.
so that Eve could be created.
Yeah.
And God said in John 3:16 that if God so loved the world, he would give his only sacrifice. So his son sacrificed his life for us, right? But then in 1 John 3:16, it says that if you love your brethren, you will give your life like Christ gave for us, right? So once again, sacrifice. So when I got into that deep dive of love, what I realized is if you're not giving nothing, it's not an action, it's not love. It's just an emotion. And that's when it got deep for me. That's when I realized that love was more of an action thing than it was of a statement thing. Right. But then the other thing is confidence. I don't care how bummy a person dresses. And I know this as a man. I've walked through the store with something like your sweatpants and everything on, right? But because of the confidence I had in myself, it seemed to attract people to me because people are attracted to confidence.
Have you ever been walking in the store? You walking with your head up, shoulders back, chest out. You see another man probably slouching a little bit. He see you, you stick that chest out.
Yeah.
Right? Because again, when you show that confidence, you know, other people pick up on it. That's that energy I'm talking about. I throw it right back to you. I just want to throw that in right quick.
But it's confidence is a thing that is more attractive to anybody. Because if I came up to you and I said, hey man, I don't know how to play baseball, right? And you came to me and was like, well, I don't know how to play baseball too. Guess what? I'm not gonna go to you because you ain't confident in it either. But then if I went to Miguel and said, hey man, I really don't know how to play baseball, man, you know, that was my favorite sport.
Yeah.
Man, I could knock the skin off of baseball. Guess what? I'm going to come to him because confidence is attractive. I don't care who it's from, but confidence is attractive. That's why some people become politicians and other people don't, because it's almost like a popularity contest. Because if you listen to what they're saying, are you really voting for the agenda or are you voting for the confidence of that person? Because I've seen people vote for people and I'm like, did you check out the agenda? Because I assure you, if you're a sheep and we're voting on dinner and you in a pack of wolves, they confident you the meal.
You know what's crazy? And you talking about sacrifice, and then this story in the Bible might actually tie back into, and actually it will tie back into like about the point of healing. Jacob, he thought he lost his son Joseph and that he was dead. And then it came to a point where it's in Genesis. If you read about it, you know, Joseph becomes basically second to the Pharaoh. There's a point at when Jacob's other sons have to come to Egypt, and you know they're seeking help because of the famine that was coming, I believe, and they don't know it because of the position he holds now, they don't recognize that this is Joseph is the brother that they sacrificed.
Mhm.
But Joseph asked of them to bring Jacob's now youngest son. And Jacob had the fear because he, in his mind, he had already lost Joseph, his youngest son. So when Joseph asked for his youngest son now, he was afraid because he had already lost his youngest son before. So at first he didn't want to do it. But had he not eventually been okay in understanding that if I don't send my youngest son, we won't get what we need to even survive.
Mhm.
So had he not like healed and been confident and been willing to sacrifice, like I have to chance and risk losing my youngest son by sending him to see this man that's requesting him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think the issue is he was already in good hands because the person he was sending his son to was just his brother.
There
Mhm.
you go.
But our problem is, well, I can't see what's going over
Can't
on
see
over
what's
there.
going on, right?
And because I can't, I don't know if I'm ready to take that risk
Take
because
that risk.
because of what I've seen in the past. I don't know what's going to happen. And then really what I'm just getting at is sometimes you got to go out on faith because the thing that you thought you lost in this situation was the thing that actually saved you because you thought you lost a son. And your son going away initially really was the blessing. I look at it as it was actually the preparation to prep your family for that family that was destined to come anyways. So had your other sons not been jealous trying to kill off Joseph,
Come on now.
Mhm.
Joseph wouldn't have been put in a position to where once again he can save his entire family.
Right.
So don't always be afraid to take that leap. Don't be afraid to keep on loving because sometimes that sacrifice you making ain't a sacrifice, it's your saving.
There you
Mhm.
go.
Absolutely.
As you said, don't be afraid, right?
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Because when you continue to love, when you continue to have that confidence, and I think both of you all hit on this, there's a blessing in being obedient.
Mhm.
Ooh,
There's a blessing in being obedient.
I've been learning that book. That's my 2024. There
Believe
you go.
Me, believe me, obedience is a hard thing because
Man.
when God asked me to read the Bible from Genesis to Revelations, when you get into Numbers,
I just got through there.
it's a lot of who begat what and who did this.
Yeah, all
and I'm
that begatting.
and Leviticus learn how to make unleavened bread and things like this. I'm like, what do I need to know this for? But it wasn't that. It wasn't until I think it was about Colossians where Paul talks about humility, being humble, humbling your spirit. Because see, that's the hardest thing to do. That's the ego thing. That's why I said when you get past the narcissism of self, and I know the statistic shows that men are more likely to be narcissists. Yes, lady, I said that. Yes, ladies, I'm telling you, they say that men are more likely to be narcissists. But it also said in the study that the society as a whole is becoming more narcissistic.
I think all of us are.
Well, we all have those.
It's
traits.
just like autism. I think everybody is on the spectrum.
Yeah. I tell you, the most beautiful, most honest people are autistic people.
I believe
people with disabilities.
Yeah, I believe that there's gonna be somebody with autism that cure cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I just truly
because they think
believe
outside
it.
the box.
Yeah, think outside the box.
They're definitely it's a different type.
Because we have a young man that we work with, and I love the young man to death because he is like a superhero. Because you throw him on any job, I swear to you, that man will do it better than any human being that you will ever run across because he has no parameters of failure.
Right.
Failure is not an option in his head. I'm going to get it done.
Yeah.
Whereas in everybody else is like, oh, that's going to wear me out. I'm going to get tired. I'm going to do this. He's like looking at it like, okay, that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be getting done. I'm going to get it done.
Yeah.
And I love that because that's how I was when I first walked into the job. I was like, I'm going to get it done. I'm going to get it done. But then I also said, after I realized I was getting abused because I was so good at something, I was like, oh no, this ain't going to get done.
Yeah.
Right.
So thank y'all for asking that question, and then we're gonna pass it over to Brother Mike and talk a little bit about 50 Cent.
Boy,
Come on with
oh,
it.
boy. So, being a brother that's never had to worry about child support, I know people that have had to deal with it, had to deal with, paying child support and not being able to see the kids, paying child support and being able to see the kids, but then mama acting 24 karat crazy, right? So I know from third party how this can be, but 50 Cent was going above and beyond in any person's standard. He was giving his baby mama $500,000 a year.
What?
$500,000, 46,000 something dollars a month. $500,000, right?
46,000 a month.
Yes.
Wow.
That is more than that. In many cases, the average American makes in a month, but he was giving that money, and
no,
he got to the
in
point,
a year.
Yeah, in a year.
More than 95% of the country.
So
Yeah.
he's giving 46, we'll say almost 47,000 a month, right? So he got to the point where he just got fed up, and he put himself on child support, and the court told him that all he had to pay was $6,700, no cent more than that a month. Can you just imagine a $47,000, a $40,000 loss every month? And the court told his baby mama that she got to get a job. Now, I agree that every able-bodied human being should have a job, should, or at least aspire to get a job. But if you're living off of somebody else and you're thinking that that's not enough that they're giving you, that's something not wrong with them. There's something wrong with you, because you should not live off of anybody. My parents instilled in me, you get your own. Don't live off of somebody else. So that's what I did. I hustled. I remember as a kid, going up to the store and buying candy and selling candy to make extra money so I can get things that I want, and going buying this. Man, I was better than the good humor man, because I had everything. You needed it, I sold it.
Brother man, huh?
But it was that type of thing. If it was a hustle, if there was money to be made and you could see that was in there, you hustle for it. But for a grown, able-bodied person to sit there and go, hey, well, he's got $1 billion and he needs to give me this much money.
Entitlement, right?
That's way entitled.
Yeah.
That's why I laugh when I hear politicians talk about Social Security's entitlement. If I'm paying it, it's not an entitlement. That's sort of like saying, if I went to a restaurant and I paid for the food and you handed me the food, that's an entitlement. No, I paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought is, what would y'all feel if somebody felt as though they were entitled to your money after you worked hard?
Whoa, I think that took a different spin. I'm gonna go ahead and take this, right?
Go ahead, brother.
Because I talk about this a lot. The more you give people, the more they want, right?
So if I keep on that one.
Don't drop it.
Can you say that again? Hold on.
The more you give people, the more they want. And this doesn't matter. This doesn't matter if it's family. It doesn't matter if it's friends. The more you give them, the more they want, right? Let's say if I'm in a friendship and I always provide this listening ear and I don't say anything, I'm always confident in things of that nature. This friendship is going to keep perpetuating itself where that person is going to tell me more and more and more and more and more and things of that nature, right? And maybe eventually I'm going to get drained by that and taking on all of that energy. I told y'all a little bit earlier that I believe in energy, right? So if you bringing me all that energy, I'm going to take that in. Yeah. But for me, the most, I would say the way I see this the most is with my kids, right? They believe, I'll say it like this. We went on a cruise maybe about 6 years ago. And you know how you do the cruise to different places in Mexico and things of that nature. We end up going to a couple of different places like Roanoke. We went to just a couple of different places, ended up in Cozumel. But during this process, we're on the boat. my wife got my daughter in here. She looking at different stuff and things of that nature. She grabbing this and she grabbing this, she grabbing that. And the person that's, ringing them up was like, well, you getting a lot of stuff, just trying to have a conversation with her. She turned to the person to say, yeah, we good because my daddy rich. Right? Like, we good because my daddy rich. And like, huh? Like, how can you make that statement? But that's her perception, because pretty much in her life, she hadn't had to worry about anything, If she wanted it, if she did what she's supposed to do, she gets those things, right? But there is a cost to always doing something like that, right? So the more that I give you, the more you're going to want, right? If I started off with this little plastic Solo cup, then you're going to want a mug, because that's not good enough for me no more. Then I'm going to want that, what's the new cup they got?
That
Stanley or something.
Stanley,
Right, they got them like $700 now. Like, they got them all tricked out. Somebody got one for $700 now, right? So I'm going to want that, right? When I get that cup, I'm going to move on to, I need a blender now. Now I need a blender. Now I need a whole refrigerator to be able to keep all this stuff in, right? And you get all of this stuff piled on top of that. So I think it's just a perpetuation of itself. So again, I told you all earlier, I got to look at me. What was I doing to feed that monster? What was I doing to feed that monster? So 50 had to look at that too. Like, because at some point he had to acquiesce to that. I'm sure it didn't start off at 46,000. You see what I'm saying? A month. But he had to like look at himself like, I'm perpetuating this as well. So at some point you got to be like, hey, I got to bag back off of this, right? I got to move into a different direction. And I have to do that thing with my kids a lot of times. Like, my son's like, I was telling my friend, my son was, my cousin was like, I want this new computer. I was like, okay. And then I ain't say nothing, just walked off. Dad, I really need this computer. It'll help me do this, that, or other. Okay. Walk off again. He finally came. What if I go half on it? Now we talking. Okay. Now we talking at this point. Now let's have a conversation, right? Yeah. Tell me what you think you'll be able to do. Well, I got my new job and I'm doing this and I'm doing this. So I think it costs about $1,000. What if I get $700? Okay. Come up with the $700, I got you. So trying to teach them some different things. And now when he get that computer, he invested in that computer, right?
Exactly.
It's going to look a little bit different than that PlayStation I bought him, right? It's going to look a way he'll appreciate it more, right? Same thing with his trip to Japan. He wants to go to Japan. Like, he's real big on, like, I think it's called, I can't think, what's the stuff, Japanese stuff? Like those little shows, I can't think of it. But he got
anime.
Like, he got me watching them now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's real big on that. He actually just went to the Japanese festival in Fort Worth this weekend. They have like a little festival and stuff of that nature, right? Got to write his name. They did some things with combat and all that type of stuff as well. But he'll get an opportunity to go to this trip at the end of his junior year, going into his senior year. So he'll have that experience. And I'm like, since I've been to Italy, I think he should have that experience as well. I'm like, it's $250 a month. How we gonna work this out? Well, I got you, Dad. I give you $100 a month. Okay, I got you. Okay, come on with it. Like, so he can start feeling it, right? But when he take that trip, he gonna be like, I paid for this trip. I took myself to Japan. That's a whole different feeling than your parents doing that for you, if that makes sense.
It's more investment as opposed to entitlement,
right
there.
And teaching that difference, right? Yeah. So as I did with you all starting this off, I asked a lot of questions to whomever I work with, right? I just ask a question. And then from that particular point, what I hope that happens is that they're enlightened by themselves. Yeah. Right? They learn something from themselves, because a lot of the times I can't give you what you need. Everything you need is already inside of you, in my opinion. It's written on you, right? So therefore, my job is to bring that out and facilitate that process. So I'll pass it to you and see what you got to talk about on this particular topic, my brother.
As a member of the CS Coalition, aka I said on last episode, yes, I do pay child support. But in this case, it's not in a negative sense. She's in Florida, I'm in Texas. It helps at first I was against it because like, nah, I don't want the government, which of course we know they're getting a piece of the pie, but it does kind of help keep me on schedule with make sure she does have a certain amount a month. But the thing that I'm lucky with as far as my daughter's mom is that based on certain things, like we were able to work out a price. The issue I think a lot of people have, and sadly it is mostly women, because a lot of times, it's sad that we have this quote that, southern states are mother states, which mean when it comes to getting the aid or custody, they go in favor of the mother a lot. And I hate it because it's a two-part. Now it's them not taking accountability, and it's how the government also enables them to be able to take advantage of it. I feel like if you need a certain amount, say like in that case, you getting $6,700, and the requirement isn't that you have to make a certain amount. Whatever I'm giving you, and you don't even make, let's say 70, 80%. My personal option would be like, I think the first option, if you don't at least make what you're telling me I have to give her, and I believe the option should be put out there to see if the father wants to take over, because it sounds like, and it's not to take the kid away from the mother, because I do believe the mother's mother, especially with daughters. But if you're not financially able, I'm going to say something is mentally wrong, because that means you're asking for this money, but you're not willing to put yourself in a situation to be able to provide for your kid. You want to ask for this money, but you're not actually trying to put yourself in the lane to be able to take care of the kid yourself. So because the father is more financially stable, then he should be offered it, and the vice versa. But it doesn't happen that way. I just, I just, it's just weird to me to realize that, and it's not about I need receipts for everything, but I've had my daughter in the summer. Uh, I know the difference. I see the change in my bills from the summer and when she's not here. And honestly, it's not a big difference. The stuff that does make it a big difference are the extracurricular activities we do. Now, of course, there's stuff like she's in gymnastics and stuff like that. Of course, but like as far as let's say my electricity bill and water bill, it's gonna go up some, but sometimes it doesn't equate to like what you see some of these celebrities have to pay. And I always hear about the lifestyle. Well, it makes it seem materialistic, because you're telling me I'm paying for a lifestyle. You're not telling me I'm paying for the well-being of my child. You're telling me I'm paying for a lifestyle that somebody else thinks that said child should have. But like you say, what is that really doing for my kid, and really what investment is going towards my kid towards that? So I'm like I said in the group chat, greed is the root of all evil. You had it made, and like you were alluding to, like sometimes we can find a reason to say why we need more money. Like all my bills can be paid, and I probably got everything I want, but I can find a reason why I need more money, because I'm just going to want something that now costs more than what I already have.
Absolutely.
And I think that's an issue. And in a way, really all over, the main thing is if they just start taking accountability for that. Because what is the real reason why you ask for a price when it gets so outrageous? I'm not trying to tell nobody like, hey, no, you can't want better for yourself. But if we're really talking about the kid, can we ask ourselves how much of this, not even talking about the money, how much is your intentions behind what you're asking about?
Yeah.
How much of what you're asking for and your intentions behind it, how much is really rooted in what's good for that kid?
Yeah.
And not what's you either being bitter or you wanting a come up, or just something that isn't rooted in goodness and kind spirited. So that's my whole thing is you reap what you sow, and you was reaping a lot, but you wasn't sowing nothing. So when weeds come up out your soil because you didn't plant roses and a tree with that's rooted in a good foundation, then you're gonna get chopped down, and she got chopped down.
One of the things that I noticed, especially with the child support thing. We'll go back to the child support thing. I've seen women that have been vindictive with the kids. Don't women, I'm gonna say this as a man that has taken care of my child. I didn't get a dime of child support. Don't use your child as a pawn.
Yeah.
Please don't use your child as a pawn, because that father may be doing the right thing. And I hope every brother is doing the right thing for their child. Let that child have time with their father.
Failed
Absolutely.
relationships don't mean that he'll be a bad parent,
Yeah.
or
Absolutely.
the vice versa. Failed relationships do not mean
Let them be a parent. Good, bad, or indifferent. If they're bad, you know what? It'll be somewhat of a learning experience of what the
Mhm.
child needs to avoid. But if you're using that child as a pawn because that man has moved on with his life and he's trying to do better, and you're bitter about that man moving on, don't do that. Don't do that to the
Yeah.
child, because that hurts the child more than anything. I made sure that I sent my daughter to see her mother 1,400 miles away. I made sure that my daughter saw her mother. Now, it's up to the mother to do what is necessary. But I never held it against the mother to say, hey, you got to come and see your child, and you got to send money. I made sure that my daughter saw her child. I made sure that she saw her mother's side of the family as well. That's what a father does. And as a good mother, you should do the same thing. Let your child spend time with the father's family and the father, because at that point, the child can make the determinations on whether or not. Don't speak ill of the mother or the father.
And you
Mm.
don't know what you're holding them from when you don't
Yeah.
let them see the other family. That's a
Right.
part of their. You don't know what that child may not know how to vocalize what they're missing when you're when you're keeping them away from that side of the family. Like, they may not understand why. Like, they might develop certain social skills that they wouldn't have had if you would have just let them see their family.
Yeah.
And a caution and warning to people that do that. With now, I'll say now, and it's not saying we're better or nothing, but I do believe younger generations are becoming more vocal about their emotions.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What you don't want now is the repercussions of you keeping your kid from the other family, or the father, or the vice versa, keeping it from the mother. Because when that kid gets older and finds out, from what I've seen personally, how that will make you feel when that kid realizes what you have done. You do not want that on you. You do not want that emotionally. You do not want, because at that moment, it's within how you said 2 episodes ago. Sometimes I have to remove my grace from people. You do not want your own kid to remove their grace from you because of you being bitter,
Yeah.
you being angry, or you being, like we were talking about earlier, you not being healed yet. Because I've seen it. Oh man, it eats you up. So just a caution to, like, man, the way that can eat you up when your kid can possibly realize that you was just in your feelings.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't get to see my daddy, my mama, or you told me this XYZ, and later down the line I found out it wasn't true. And even if you don't think you're doing it for the best interest of your kid, sometimes you got to let your kids see some of it and let them make their own decisions.
Make their own decisions. That's a quote. I'm quoting again.
Oh, here we go. Let me get ready.
I don't know
get ready.
if this one is just poetic or profound or anything of that nature, but it's something that we talk to our educators about a lot. And we say this quote, and we say this, and I think it kind of hits what you all are talking about. When you talk about, being able to have that mother or their father in the life, and I commend you, my brother, for being able to send your child to go see her mother. So we want to give you some snaps and some claps for that as well. I want to commend you, my brother, as well. Look you right in your eyes, and man, say, good father, make sure you're taking care of your kid, man. I appreciate that, because one of the things that I will cut somebody out for is not being a good father. I promise you that. I don't hang around people that don't take care of their kids.
Absolutely.
I promise you that. So I will cut you off for that.
I respect
just
it.
not gonna do that,
I
right?
respect it.
But this is the quote that kind of jumped in my mind. Rules without relationships lead to resentment. However, rules with relationships lead to remorse.
Mhm.
And simply what I'm saying here is that no matter what, what I see from you guys, you're giving your kids an opportunity to have the relationship with their parents, with their other side of the family, things of that nature. Right. But if you ever restrict that, those kids gonna have some resentment issues,
Oh,
right?
gosh.
And that resentment can come out tenfold, right? It can come out and it's gonna turn the other way, and it's gonna be just as much as you tried to hold that away from them. It's gonna come back to you even 10 times harder, if that makes sense.
And I'd even say this for the parents that have a significant other, step parent, whatever it is, even though that person is trying to do that part into helping develop that child, that child still needs their biological in their life, unless that biological is no longer available.
Yeah, yeah.
Can I say something to that? We ain't got to get deep into this. I agree with that, but also something in our community, and I don't know how it is in other communities because I'm only in one. Clearly, stop putting limits on a step parent.
Yeah.
Because if you love them enough that you decided to be with them, you should have that trust. And I understand, yes, you got to be cautious, but you should teach them how y'all raise your kids. Because I promise you, if you put a limit on them, that kid is gonna see that. And that's only, I'm going through that now, and I really believe in it takes a village, and I'm okay with her mom is getting married, and congratulations to them. But I already told him, I said, hey man, hey, when y'all call me talking about it's her birthday, I'm gonna say, hey, pops too. Well, baby girl want this. I got this much. What you got?
Make
like
one quick statement.
Go ahead.
For all those teachers that are going out there and being the parent in an absence of parenting. I want to thank y'all.
Yeah.
Thank y'all. Because there was a lot of times there was teachers in my life that stepped in to be that dad, to be that mom. Thank y'all. Yeah. Y'all do a wonderful job. Y'all ain't paid enough for it, but y'all definitely do it.
Definitely should get paid like doctors. So thank you, Appleberry, on that.
Absolutely. I'm going to end it with this, is that since y'all bring up educators, I think educators wear a lot of different hats, right? As you alluded to, mama, daddy, counselor. We even have this term right now called the teacher counselor. If you haven't heard of that, where teachers are asked to do academic things and things of that nature, but also improve the social and emotional well-being of students as well. And when you get students that come in that are, let's just say, for lack of a better term, crack babies, or you get students that come in that have been sexually abused, you get students that come in hungry, things of that nature. These teachers are working with this. And I'll tell this particular story as I end this, because I know we got to wrap this particular episode up, but I'm going to tell this particular story. Had this student, and I wasn't in the classroom at this particular time. I had moved into a managerial position, but I had this student that would come in every day. I had the pleasure of working with this kid before. Come in every day, swinging at staff, swinging straight at the head. Pow. As soon as he get off the bus, right? Swinging at staff. Pow. Every day, did this for a week. We had a procedure where kid would go to a cool off room, come back out. We talk about things. We go back to the classroom. So one day the teacher ends up asking him, man, why you get off the bus swinging at us like that? I hadn't thought to ask him this question before. But why you get off the bus swinging at us? Guess what the student said? You wouldn't believe it. I'm going to ask you, what do you think the student said?
It's just what he saw.
That's what he saw. What you think he said?
Just needed time alone.
Time alone. This was so profound when I heard what the kid said. He said, this is how my family show love. Wow. Wow. This is how my family show love. So I'm trying to show y'all I love y'all. Now, most adults and things of that nature, this is why I say we have to think outside the box, especially as educators. Most adults will be like, man, we don't do that like that. We don't do that like that. Because of the training this person had. And I'm not to my own horn, but this is how I've trained people, if that makes sense. We don't discount where you come from and what you have going on at your home. So we said, man, whatever you do at home is what you do at home, but you at school. And let me show you how we show love here at school.
Mhm.
Do you know the student started going back and taking the practices that we showed him and showing to his family?
Mhm.
And then now the family are doing these practices now.
Mhm. That's great.
Right. So again, I'm gonna go back to that quote. Rules without relationships lead to resentment, but rules with relationships lead to remorse. And y'all just heard the brother speak. Yes, sir.
All right. All right. And that was your berryism of the week. I think that's what we're going to call them, berryisms.
Berryism.
I
Let's
like
go.
that.
All right. Well, there we have it. Another one for the week, fellas.
Absolutely.
Another one in the books.
Another one in
And
the books.
He had to hit us hard at the end because that
Right.
stung. But I said, "Ooh, hold on."
you know, I was gonna say something about the child support thing, but I had to bite my tongue on that because I'm still a little salty on the whole child support thing. Period.
Oh,
To
yeah.
me is it's a scam.
That's why I was like,
Well,
that's why I
and-
say the mother states in the way it's set up for them to take
absolutely.
advantage.
I mean, I've even seen videos where they had a guy that was paying, ended up having his check garnished because some woman said he was the father,
Yeah.
even though he never seen that woman in his life.
There's a man facing prison time because and she said on the report, like with the news, she said, I just put his name down. And he already had the DNA test, but because she put his name down, once your name goes on that birth certificate,
Mhm.
you're
I had a dude that signed the birth certificate based upon his baby mother, and she had an affair with his cousin. So he was raising his cousin
Wow.
and still had to pay the child support
emotional
after 16 years of paying the child support. Well, actually 14 years. The kid was 16.
Yeah.
He still had to pay the child support for the next several years because his name was on it.
What Kanye say?
I'm gonna tell you
18 years. 18 years. And
years.
on the 18th birthday, he
Man,
found out it wasn't his.
Where's Maury when you need him?
Man, look, I'm gonna tell you now, whatever he did, he should be found not guilty. That's all I'm saying. Whatever he did after finding out that, man, there's certain stuff that, man, I get it. Everybody has their limits, man, but there's certain things that, man, you shouldn't have to deal with.
Mhm.
To find out, like, and I don't think, and like, men will cheat. Yeah, we'll all cheat, but I don't think women understand, like the same way we won't understand like how we hurt them. Women, but the way they play with that whole, oh yeah, I'm not gonna let him know that it's not his. Like that is, like that's something that a man possibly might not recover from. Like that's one of those, like no matter
and
what.
I hate to say it, sometimes it's okay. This guy's making more money than the guy that I think that may be the baby daddy. But guess what? I'm going to stick it to him because at least I know I can get paid with him compared to this guy where I may only make this much based upon the state rules.
Yeah.
Man, that's just so.
But
And
this
see,
this
when-
one was finding out that you're raising your cousin.
That's tough.
And
That's
see, that's the type of
tough.
stuff that make men go, as the old saying go, postal.
Like my daughter, like I never had no inclination that she's not mine or that at the time my girlfriend cheated. But if I was to find out now, because it's not only you dealing with the hurt, that it's like now you have that dilemma of what you do, because now you really don't know what to do because you done love this kid, and it's gonna be hard for you if you decide you got to cut this tie, and then if you do keep this tie, now you're like, how is that gonna affect me mentally, emotionally?
Yeah.
Like the toll that takes on the man. That oh my god,
As
she's still alive.
somebody very wise told me one time.
Yeah, she's still alive.
God shows up.
Yeah. Somebody told me
But the
like,
brother was mad though.
that kid didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
That kid need love. And that kid still believe that you're their father or their mother, right? Because you have been there. You've supported them. You saw them first steps. You was able to be there for them. And so therefore, the kid's still mine.
Mm.
But as my dad say, yo, it's mine.
Yeah, that's my with the way I love on my baby girl now. If I find that she wasn't mine, like I'm gonna have to kill your mama because I can't live your life now. Because like the way I love you, like I never, you're the one that really made me realize what unconditional
love,
is.
right?
And to this day, I still don't even feel worthy to be your father. But the fact, if I was to find this out, like I can't leave, and because I can't leave, makes me more angry at your mama because she put me in this predicament.
So maybe next episode we should get into these dads that have these girls. I think that's
man. Let me tell you,
that's a
girl
big one.
Dads?
Right? Yeah, them girl dads.
Is everybody here got a girl dad?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, no, this gonna be a topic.
It's gonna be a topic. I think we're gonna go left, right, up, and down to the side, everything.
We're gonna get into that.
I'm gonna tell you, I have one biological of mine, but I still have 3 more for marriage.
Yeah,
and they're all my daughters. Love them all the same, and I swear to you, daughters are a different creature.
Different creature, right?
They're a different creature. Boys, be like, all right, boy, go ahead. Daughters is a whole different story.
Yeah, them daughters, they different.
Man,
and they show
all I'm gonna say on that is I will wear the hell out that orange jumpsuit. Try me,
man.
Try me.
Play with me if you want to.
Because that helped make me mature. Because if I would have had a boy, you know, the boy you can get a little wild, but that girl will sit you down.
Yeah. I got twin girls, so yeah.
Ooh, double trouble.
Yeah. So, all right, y'all. Thanks for everybody who tuned in and watched this. If you're still here watching, thank you again. Again, follow, like, share, tell a friend, and tell a friend, and tell a friend. Hit that thumbs up, all right? Also, still got questions, all right? Email us, LTBS, let the brother speak, LTBS podcast at yahoo.com. Ask a brother, all right? We're gonna give you a response, okay? Make sure you hit us up. And until then, y'all be blessed. Peace.
Be blessed, y'all. Take care.
God bless, man. Take care.